I saw an amazing thing as I lay in the straw. Last night I dreamed that behind the waterfall was a form of writing I could not read, something like a scrawled prescription or a scroll with only the letters H, I, N, and E still legible. The night decants the moonlight over the nettles along the brook. Solidarity, not charity, chants the leader of a temporary camp, in the paternalistic tone I've come to recognize as a weak disguise. So I push on, slipping away from the fire, walking as far as I can beneath the full moon, the color of a ripe plum. August plus December minus February equals June? The footpath throws me into time, and I walk until there it is, like the skirt of a dress filled with snakes or doves, or the roar of a cafeteria. The waterfall. Behind the waterfall is a cave. I step out onto the wet, broad stone without shame or anger. Am I a moonbird? Look how lightly I step from the bank to the ledge, my right hand clinging to the stone of the cliff and the fingertips of my left hand extending towards and then through the water. Then all of me is inside and not out. This is what I see. A small fire, recently lit and fragrant, packed tightly into a circle of heavy stones. Each stone has a red oval painted on the roundest part, ringed with gold paint, then a thinner line of turquoise pigment or dye. There's a kerosene stove with a kettle on it, singing at boil. A low wooden desk with a cushion to sit on. Somebody has painted the cream fabric of the cushion with lemon, emerald green, and red paisley swirls. On the desk, wrapped in gold silk, is a book. Nobody's here. In this context, I hear two words. Open it. Kneel down in the boggling mud. It's so icy. Here. Yes, I'm speaking now, as Pinky scrambles up the rocky hill. Imagine a flame balanced in a bowl of water or in the bubbling spring at the origin of rivers, hovering there. Here, a third stream comes from underneath with the energy of a fountain. Is this the history of rivers? Is an origin a confluence? Dear Pinky, in the 14th minute of this new galaxy and in the last few moments of your own childhood, I'm communicating with you. Like this. Pinky, can you hear me? This is the place. Put your hand in the water. Yeah, that's it. As far as it can go. Blood angels carve in the moonlight, but you'll never see such a thing. There, that's it. Pull it out now. Right out of the water and the mud and the flame and the ice and the muck and the bright. That's it, my lovely. Reach in. Can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you. Pinky says, who has begun to speak. There are forests here and snowdrops in abundance. I never imagined being here. Did you? From afar, from flock, from lovers, from bodies that flush with warmth, from cultural memory of lighthouses, polar bears, the revolutionary nature of young people all over the earth, something was preserved. I can feel it here for the first time with you. Imagine a bunch of carrots with soil still caked on them, green tops like ferns. Or imagine the sound of a wooden flute beyond the Mughal labyrinth. Imagine the national flowers of contested regions. Every person who traveled here is unsteady, and I can feel that. dehydrated. If home is found on both sides of the globe, home, of course, here, and always amidst land, said the poet, with whom we can still feel an emotional affinity, although he is long gone. The delicate works of that earlier time will never be kept on record now. It is up to us to memorize them. Poems by people who have been incarcerated, poems by people who left their homes, poems constructed with paper and with string. Things that happen, things that have happened, things that might happen on this planet of Avaz. Here's the fragment. Pinky gestures to a chunk of ice on the tall wooden table, addressing the group. The ice is luminous, almost neon, rotating to the left and then back again, twitching without any effort or contact from Pinky herself or the members of her audience who are seated on the floor or leaning against the sides of the cave. As you can see, continues Pinky in a formal tone, the fragment is a six-dimensional object that we have to integrate. It's evolving. We don't have much time. The ice has a lower luminosity than what it contains, and so the light from the fragment crosses two frequencies like an unknown language. Some photons can't escape the staggered mesh. How will we melt this ice that does not melt when we heat it, or crack when we smash it on the ground? Pinky taps the book. An unknown language is a rose meteor because what doesn't ebb off leaves lines. An unknown language is held by a quasi-steady state. An unknown language is held in a quasi-steady state until somebody reads it for the first time. And then it becomes toroidal, streaming lines. An unknown language is non-dimensional, and so it can't be written down. So what are you looking at? You need a code to look at the unknown language. Encased in ice, a word vibrates. Discontinuous spikes pulse in the body of the viewer. It helps to wear damp silk. The coolness calms the vagus nerve, a nerve that wraps around the heart as it travels from gut to brain. The fragment of an unknown language is unstable, convective, buoyant, and it can't be extracted, just as the real universe can't be plotted. Is the one you love a proxy for radiance? Said Hildegard the chameleon. Is the fragment of a cosmological simulation? Said Hildegard, who ingested galantine, converting the energy of her life into an identity as bright as 6 million suns. An unknown language comes from a foreign place, like a sample of the life that once lived here. An unknown language is a very rich source, a repository of shared information, like an amethyst cave at the place where the river meets the sea. Herbs and body work relieve the buildup of tension, said Hildegard, off message. Hildegard, you were so close to me at the origin of rivers and then in the cave. Was it you who were so recently there, stoking the fire with the toe of your pointed boot? Hildegard, your metamorphosis, like an animal or fish, keeps on slipping through my hands. I follow your command. Like a text that is destined to be read as a sign might, the book was a series of commands. As Pinky read each sentence in turn, the words lit up with a weak flame, one by one, so that when Pinky finished reading, there was no book. Red flowers, a moorhen, Pinky waited until the spring came before she left the cave and returned to the camp below, where other orphans had gathered, sitting with their backs to nature out of a sadness that they couldn't stop, to whisper, "Follow me." Up and up to the origin of rivers went the children, on Pinky's heel, for her eyes were shining. Whoever followed her stopped asking, "What is happening to me?" Hot water sipped upon waking, a branch to chew on that cleaned the teeth and nourished the breath, vegetables, seeds, black tea. "A mandala for the undefended heart," said Pinky when one of the orphans asked her what she was drawing. The cave was like a violet door to the side of the mountain. There was a way to enter and another way to leave. To relieve the bowels in a wood, a shovel in hand to dig a hole and then refill it. "I can compete with you in the body that I have." This was a new thought, one of the many orphans had, individually. Soon it was time to gather. "It's time," said Pinky. "Let's begin." Once they were ready, the children, or near children, or ex-children, gathered in a circle within view of the cascade, which was a Prussian blue, sparkling in the early morning light. In the middle was a block of ice. With the fingertip of your fourth finger, touch the bone of your heart, and with your other hand, touch the ground. In the years to come, we would learn from our failures and write about what we had left behind. Our writing took the form of stories and poems, which we shared in the woodland clearing where we met to learn from each other. There wasn't a university in our future, and there never would be again. Instead, we apprenticed to our elders and shared in their care. That morning, the morning of our first ritual, we looked at each other like shy swans, bending our necks to look down and then up again. Pinky, now our leader, repeated the instructions in a clear voice. We remembered the book which had set itself on fire as she read each word in turn. Was this our mythology? The papers hiss, ash on the fingertips, ABC flame. The final instruction was this: bring to mind an experience of hatred. The gold light descended then from the crown to the heart, dissolving the head of the enemy, the regret, the pain. Pinky set the chunk of ice at the center of our circle on the ground. We visualized the gold light extending from our hearts to pierce the chemistry of the fragment. Imagine 20 spokes of the brightest light you have ever seen. As the ice shatters, a sound is released. A new sound which reaches us as pale green light, vibrating lightly, like bees, but also flowers. Is a stamen a tuning fork? The mountains above us tilt in synchrony. Was this the moment that our species took a turn?